Hearts. They're usually an indicator to your life meter in video games and are integral to, well, keeping you alive. They are also very important in two specific games, Kingdom Hearts and Persona 5. In the latter game, the Phantom Thieves led by their leader Joker steal the hearts of people, which makes them change their behavior and attitudes for the better. And by doing this, they made a name for themselves as the world's best thieves. In Kingdom Hearts, we follow a boy named Sora, whose heart is arguably the strongest, and we followed him through numerous adventures as he grows, and has shown his heart and friends can get him through anything. Today, we're combining these two franchises to see if the Phantom Thieves could pull off their best caper ever by stealing Sora's heart. Let's dive in. Now, if you're unfamiliar with either of these franchises, don't worry. I'll do my best to break it down. The first thing we need to look at is who is going to be involved in the stealing of Sora's heart. That would be Joker, the leader of the Phantom Thieves, who I'm sure most of you know as that guy from Super Smash Bros., and Joker's friends, Ryuji, the foul-mouthed once track athlete, An, who is a modeling star, Futaba the tech whiz, Makoto the straight-A knuckle brawler, Haru, heir to the Okumura Empire, Yusuke the artist, Sumire the dancer, and their big-headed cat mascot, Morgana. So how do a bunch of high schoolers steal hearts from people? Well, they don't just jam a knife in or just run their hand through like Killua or the guy from Temple of Doom. No, their way is much less gruesome, and it's not a literal stealing of the heart. Morgana teaches the crew and players this in Persona 5. An individual must have a strong desire that will manifest into a treasure that the Phantom Thieves can then steal. To get to this object though, the Phantom Thieves need to get into that person's palace. For example, in Persona 5, there's a character named Kamoshida whose palace you go into first. And in the case of Kamoshida, his palace was a literal castle. But for others, it was a ship or a bank or an art gala. It doesn't need to be an actual castle. The term palace is just used to describe these locations. Now, in order to get into a person's palace, the Phantom Thieves need to learn the keywords that they can put into their special phone app that will then reveal the location of the palace and transport them in. Like they say, there really is an app for everything. These keywords are normally learned through reconnaissance, either by asking around, media and document snippets, or even confronting the target in person. And in the case of asking them outright, it's not like their target knows what they're planning, but they still need to be careful if they choose to do that method. These words are important and have to do with the target's basic characteristics, beliefs, and desires. Once they learn these words, they have access to the target's palace. The next part is infiltration. The Phantom Thieves will either sneak past or battle guards in the palace while maintaining a low profile until they eventually come across the area where the treasure should be located. At first, the treasure won't manifest immediately, but it'll be this glowing, blurry thing. Once they have secured an escape route to safely exit the palace, the next step is going back to the normal world and leaving a calling card. Think of it like a business card, except this one threatens you. This is how the treasure will materialize. The calling card is a way to notify the target that the Phantom Thieves have chosen them to be their next target, and will steal something precious to them. This makes the target uneasy and puts up their defenses, but that's just what needs to happen in order to get that blurry thingy to materialize into the object they hold dear. The calling card is normally created in a manner that suits the target and mentions things close to them. And like I mentioned, while this makes the target uneasy, it's also a double-edged sword because now the target is a lot more cautious and in turn the palace is more dangerous. However, this is the only way to make the treasure materialize to steal, and thus conclude the stealing of a heart. However, they only have one day to pull this off. They can't just send another calling card. You get one try, and that's it. If you mess up, it's over. The last line of defense a target has is usually an all-out fight within their palace with the Phantom Thieves. The Phantom Thieves battle with their personas. You can think of them like spiritual creatures that you gather to bolster your fighting force. Kinda like Pokemon, except nowhere near as family-friendly. For example, they have a literal persona who's a on a chariot. Can I show this on YouTube? You know what? I'm not gonna. I'm not risking it. And each party member's personas have different elemental advantages that are unique to that party member. Like Ryuji uses lightning, An uses fire, Morgana uses wind, you get the idea. Joker does not have a limit to this though. He can use multiple personas with multiple different elemental and defensive advantages. They also have access to weapons such as guns, whips, swords, and many others. In the case of something like guns, they're not real. What I mean by that is Joker would have to go into the real world and just have to bring back a gun that looks real into the other world. And as long as it's perceived as real, it will function the same as a regular gun. This also means that it needs to reload, since real guns need to reload as well. No infinite ammo hacks for Joker. So after all this prep, if the Phantom Thieves go into the palace and win, the plan was successfully completed. As for their target Sora, he's the main protagonist in the Kingdom Hearts series. Sora is the epitome of the good guy. He's been on many adventures and battled it out with almost every Disney villain as well as his own. His main companions are Donald Duck and Goofy, who are two of his best friends, as well as Riku and Kairi. Sora uses magic and physical strikes with his iconic weapon, the Keyblade, as his main form of combat. He can also switch between multiple Keyblades on the fly for different situations, and each Keyblade has its own different and unique abilities. He can even use the power of walking the dog to end your life. And when he's not doing that, he relies on his friends for his power.
I don't need a weapon. My friends are my power.
Sora has also shown he will do anything to save the people he loves, even if it means something bad will happen to him. Sora is an extremely selfless character that from the moment he meets you, he always wants to see the best in people, even if we may think they don't deserve it. Sora is quick to make friends and keep them close to his heart, and he always assures them that they will always have a place in his heart. And those connections are what makes him stronger and able to fight to his fullest. And this is no bluff either, as Sora has crossed swords with the likes of Sephiroth, Cloud, Tifa, Squall, aka Leon. No, not that Leon. Could you imagine? And even Disney's heavy hitters like Jafar, Maleficent, and Hercules. Make sure to bring a barrel. Sora's primary element, even though he can cast fire, thunder, ice, and others, will always be light. Sora has and always will be the hero of light, using that power to temper the darkness and keep everyone he cares about or has yet to meet safe. Now, some people may be wondering, how would Sora have a palace? Didn't I just say he was a good guy? Well, the easy answer is this whole idea can't happen unless he does. And I can just forgo in-lore rules to make the impossible happen since, you know, these two franchises will probably never cross over. And it's a fun thing to discuss, at least for me. However, if you don't like that reason and would prefer a more in-universe reason, that would be Sora is more than capable of having a palace. A palace is built from a person's deepest wants. They have to be extremely strong, and in pretty much all the cases in Persona 5, they're from distorted hearts. While Sora's heart may not be distorted, he does qualify in the event of wanting things he cares about at an equal level to those guys that could still fall under greed. Take this line from Greed himself in Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood. You want to bring back someone that you've lost. You might want money. Maybe you want women, or you might want to protect the world. These are all common things people want, things that their hearts desire. Greed may not be good, but it's not so bad either. You humans think greed is just for money and power, but everyone wants something they don't have. Bringing back someone you've lost, that's Sora. Wanting to protect the world, that's also Sora. And we've seen how far Sora is willing to go to make sure that he can save the people he cares about as well, even if it means it could backfire on him. These feelings are definitely strong enough to create a palace, at least if we're going by that definition, because while not all greed is good, not all greed is bad either. Look at Maruki's palace, for example. His palace was created from his desire to better the world and make sure no person would feel pain again, to have a truly peaceful world. This guy was clearly a Naruto fan who really thought that idea was a good one. He is by no means an evil person with malicious intent either, so it's not a stretch to think Sora could have one too. With that out of the way, it's time for the operation to commence. How would these characters all meet up though? Well, after all their adventures, Joker and the others will want to have a relaxing time during summer break, and with Ann being well traveled, she'll mention to the others that there is a fabulous island she has always wanted to visit, and pulls up a tourist spot for Destiny Islands. Morgana would agree with Ann because, well, he's Morgana. And with a bit of convincing, the others will follow suit. Ultimately, it comes down to Joker, but he would agree as well, as he and his friends deserve a relaxing vacation. Feel like I'm rewriting Strikers. Haru would cover the tickets as she is filthy rich after what happened to her father, as she now has access to the Okumura Company funds. They all board a private plane and head to Destiny Islands. Once there and taking in all the sights on the mainland, Morgana would get a feeling of someone with a strong heart on the islands. Ryuji would tell him to f off with that though, because they are there to have a good time. While relaxing near the water, they would see one of the connecting islands off in the distance. Morgana would get that same feeling again, privately telling Joker about it. Joker, not wanting to ruin the vacation, agrees to check it out under the guise of just wanting to hang out. Haru then makes plans the next day for a small sailing boat to bring them over. Once there, Joker would see 3 other teens hanging out on the island and go to introduce himself. They would then meet Sora, Riku, and Kairi. After some introductions, Sora would agree to show them around and immediately gravitate toward them, telling them it's nice to make new friends around here. And Kairi would hit it off with the other girls in the group as well, with Ryuji and Riku talking about those damn adults. Ryuji, you have no idea how much Riku would agree with that sentiment. Sora, while not laying out his entire life story, tells Joker bits and pieces of what he's been through, and how much his friends mean to him. They mean even more to him than his own mother, who he still hasn't checked in on. After the day comes to a close, Morgana tells Joker that Sora is the one that he was sensing, and that Sora has a ridiculously strong heart and convictions several times stronger than even Shido's convictions. Although Joker and Morgana couldn't sense any malice or evil coming from Sora, they wanted to be safe so that this wasn't another potential Maruki in the making. They decided to call a group meeting to investigate Soras Palace. That evening, Joker brought up the plan to everyone, and they agreed to finding out Sora's keywords and what's most important to him. If you've ever played a Kingdom Hearts game, you could probably guess what the keywords are going to be. They went back the next day, and the girls again talk with Kairi while Ryuji talks with Riku and Joker with Sora. Joker tells Sora that they plan on leaving tomorrow and that they were visiting only for a couple of days. Sora tells Joker not to worry and that they will always still be friends and keep in touch, and that their hearts will always be connected. Sora elaborates that his heart is connected to everyone he meets and that his friendships mean more to him than anything. That he's fought through numerous trials to keep them safe. Joker asks how he managed to pull this off, and Sora shows him his keyblade. By the way, that's not a euphemism for anything, okay? Sora is a highly trusting person and is rarely ever suspicious of anyone, even if they have ulterior motives or are just using him.
Wait, let me guess. You want to enter the games, right?
Well then, hey, get a load of this.
A pass?
It's all yours. Good luck, kid. I'm pulling for you, little shorty.
So it stands to reason Sora may be a blabbermouth and not find anything Joker is asking him suspicious. Finally, Sora takes Joker to a mysterious-shaped fruit growing from a tree. Sora tells Joker about the Paopu fruit, and for those of you who don't know, the Paopu fruit in Kingdom Hearts is to be shared between people, and if eaten together, their destinies become intertwined, and they will remain part of each other's lives no matter what. To this very day, it was rumored that the Paopu fruit was the first legally binding contract in fruit form. Ryuji also gets information from Riku as the two bond over their friends, saying how much their friends helped them when they were in need. Ryuji asks what makes Sora able to help people so easily and bring the best out of people. Riku tells Ryuji it's his light. Sora gives off a light that can make any darkness in your heart fade. Kairi says the same thing to the girls when they ask her. Yusuke is also impressed with Kairi and wants to paint her. An immediately shuts this down though. Once the Phantom Thieves return, they go over what they've learned, and the 3 words they had in common were light, heart, and friendship. And they had an idea of what tangible item could represent all of those things with the Paopu fruit. They put the keywords in the app and were immediately transported to Soras Palace. Now, Soras Palace was a bit tricky, but it would be a more grandiose version of Destiny Islands where all the friends he's made can be with him. Think about it. In the first game, he's fine with getting off the island, but Riku was definitely the one that was more hell-bent on leaving. And as the series continues, all Sora wants to do is go back to the islands with Riku and Kairi.
Well, I'm gonna go look for Riku. Then he and I can go back to the islands together.
Sora may have had a grass is always greener on the other side vibe in the first game, but as the series continues, he realizes how good he had it. Sora does feel sad when he hears how he may never see his friends again in Kingdom Hearts 1, but that clearly never comes to fruition in the series as everyone still travels to and from worlds whenever they please. And Sora is a simple character. He's not looking for a majestic castle or a spaceship or a bank vault full of money. He just wants a peaceful life filled with the friends he's made on on his journey. Sora's companions would be the guards of the palace, but not in the way you expect them to be. They would not go out of their way to harm or eliminate people, but would be there to make sure the friend they cared about would not be harmed by intruders. And they wouldn't be commanded, they would be doing this of their own volition. The Phantom Thieves would now be in their full gear, getting a feel for the area, and would see that the tallest point of this version of Destiny Islands would be the best bet as to where Sora's treasure would be. Now, since this palace has all of Sora's friends, the Phantom Thieves can see all the guards they would be up against, and they're not like the generic shadows they would have to fight in other palaces. These were all unique individuals, and their best bet would be to take them down one at a time, so that when they deliver the calling card, they wouldn't be around to help Sora. While making their way to the treasure, they would need to take out their biggest threats first, like Axel, Roxas Ventus, and other original Kingdom Hearts characters in Sora's Heart. This would prove difficult, but not impossible, as picking them off one at a time with the sheer numbers advantage as well as elemental weaknesses could make it easier. And elemental resistances and weaknesses have existed in Kingdom Hearts before. This is probably one of the few elements that matches with Persona's franchise as well. There's a couple differences, but the general idea is still the same. Also, for Joker, his personas would have been summoned and equipped with the best skills, being able to drain most weaknesses and counter physical hits, making him virtually untouchable. And being able to change personas on the fly would make hitting him almost impossible. As for the Final Fantasy characters in Kingdom Hearts that would be in Sora's Palace, like Cloud, Tifa, and Squall, the versions in Sora's Heart would only be as strong as he knows them to be in Kingdom Hearts, and their best feats have all been in their own games, where Sora doesn't even exist. And the Final Fantasy characters don't even show everything they're capable of in Kingdom Hearts. All their spells and physical hits can just be absorbed by Joker, as their arsenal isn't as vast as their actual Final Fantasy games. This would just leave them vulnerable after a long drawn-out fight. Luckily though, Sephiroth wouldn't be in that palace, since Sora would never consider him a friend of his, so a bullet dodged there for Joker. While taking out these friends of Sora's, the Phantom Thieves would then notice that Sora's palace is reacting to his friends disappearing. Since Sora does have a strong connection to them, he would feel something. The best plan to not fully alert Sora as to what was going on would be, after eliminating the original KH characters and Final Fantasy characters, to leave the Disney characters untouched for now, as to not completely alert Sora. After doing away with a few more guards, they would reach the top. And to their surprise, after getting to the top, they would see the treasure's aura floating in a dark room. Upon entering the room, they would be walking on a stained glass image of Sora and 4 others. Joker and the others would recognize Riku and Kairi, but not the other 2. Morgana would then say, "Are 2 of his friends a duck and a dog?" Makoto would respond, "We're friends with a talking cat, and you think that's weird?" With the treasure route secured and an escape plan hatched, it was time to send the calling card that would make the treasure visible. The next day, Sora received a message in a bottle stating, "To Sora, the apparent shining light. Do you protect everyone with this light, or just the people that benefit from you being their friend? Power isn't something to take lightly. We'll find out how strong your heart is tomorrow when you lose something precious to you. Prepare. From the Phantom Thieves of Hearts." The Phantom Thieves re-enter the palace, and the treasure becomes a Paopu fruit, symbolizing all the friendships Sora has made through his journeys. Now, the best strategy to defeat Sora would be to split the party into 2 groups. Team A will face Sora, while Team B finishes off the rest of the Disney characters who have battled alongside him, so they can't help him. Team A will be Joker, and Team B will be everyone else. Why, you ask? Because with the abilities Joker has, he's the only one who can face Sora to a standstill. What those abilities are, I'll go over in just a second. Team B, with all the other Phantom Thieves, make it easier to take down the remaining characters, as they can take down multiple foes at once because of their sheer numbers advantage. It's better to have Team B do that, as Sora could easily wipe out the other members of the party, since they wouldn't have the same resistances and counters that Joker has with his multiple personas. They would only be in his way. While Joker faces Sora, Sora would be able to go into his limit forms without the need of party members, since this is the inside of his own heart, which would make Sora an extremely tough person to beat. However, with Joker at the very least, Sora can't outright beat him. With the persona abilities Joker can attach to his personas, he can absorb or reflect the physical hits Sora throws at him, and with Drain, it would only replenish Joker's health and stamina. The same same goes for elemental damage. Joker could put on abilities that absorb thunder, ice, fire, wind, dark, and even light. He doesn't need to hit back at Sora or even win the fight outright. He would just be stalling Sora for his real plan. Even if Sora were to cast Stop to freeze Joker, he still can't hit him. Sora could call Donald and Goofy, summoning them from the stained glass in his heart to fight by his side, but Joker could dispatch the both of them rather easily. Goofy has no notable attacks that could hit Joker, and as for Donald's magic, even his most powerful magic art, Zeta Flare, wouldn't work for two reasons. Zeta Flare is a fire-based magic spell, again an element Joker can absorb, and the other reason is this is Soras Palace, and the incarnation of the people he's befriended would act on his behalf, but Sora would never let a friend of his willingly sacrifice themselves for him, so this Donald would never even use it. As for Riku, same thing. His dark attacks won't have any effect, and is a much easier target for Joker to hit. And then there's Kairi. So Sora and Joker would be at a stalemate until Futaba pops up on screen and tells Joker Team B has succeeded. Sora would ask what they meant by that. Futaba would then pop open a screen and show Sora all of his friends, the guards of his palace, had been done away with. Sora would drop to his knees, drop his keyblades, and lose his will to fight. Taking Sora's treasure, Joker would then see Sora was crushed mentally. Sora's whole purpose and strength had been his friends. Without them, he had nothing to fight for. Sora would well up and hate that any of this happened, and curse himself for not being strong enough to protect them. That's when Joker would realize what Sora's heart was. He had his treasure, he could escape, but this was also a test to see if Sora was a truly good person. Joker would explain everything to the palace version of Sora, and afterwards, Joker would reach out his hand and accept that Sora was now one of his friends. With the battle finished, and what Joker had witnessed, he would see that Sora was a truly good person, and not a danger to anyone. Sora didn't just save who was close to him, but was just like the Phantom Thieves in wanting to protect those who needed his help, even if they never asked for it. The mission was a success. They had successfully figured out Sora's true feelings and conquered the palace. So could the Phantom Thieves steal Sora's heart? Absolutely. You have to remember that when breaking this down, that this is the embodiment of Sora's heart, which is still very strong with the abilities he can use, but this is the Phantom Thieves' area of expertise. This wasn't a straight up battle between Joker and Sora. The goal was to steal Sora's heart, which they succeeded in. They didn't really defeat Sora physically, but mentally. Think about it like this. The Phantom Thieves require a lot of prep time, kind of like Batman. They investigate their target, get as much information as they can in terms of personality, people who are close to them, their wants, their goals, just who they are as people, not to mention what abilities they may be up against. All of that goes into their operations to make sure they can pull it off successfully. If we just drop them in with no information, this outcome would be a lot different. Hell, they wouldn't even be able to get into Sora's palace. As for Sora himself, his biggest strength has always and will continue to be his friends. As cheesy as it sounds, that's what I have always admired about Sora, how devoted he is to others. However, in a battle, that strength can also be a weakness. It's the same reason many superheroes have secret identities, so they can keep the people they care about safe. Because for many of those heroes, the way to beat them isn't by beating them in a physical one-on-one, but by breaking them by getting rid of the people they love. And we've seen Sora have breakdowns like this before where he loses his friends and can't think rationally. The Phantom Thieves merely used the information they have on Sora to get at his weakness easily. And they have experience with mental manipulation as well. They were always able to get their targets riled up by hitting them in the places that hurt them the most. These characters would not be enemies at the end of this though. Both fight for good reasons, and I'd like to think they would become friends with each other. Maybe Ryuji teaches Sora a more colorful vocabulary when they max out Sora's social link. And to max out my social link, all you need to do is smack the subscribe button down below with your Keyblade. Again, not a euphemism. With that said though, a successful mission completed again by the Phantom Thieves of Hearts. Let me know what you thought. What's your opinion on the subject? What do you think would happen if you disagreed? I love hearing your opinions in the comments, as stuff like this always interests me to get a discussion going. Thanks again for watching this to the end, guys, and I'll see you soon. Nath out. Hi everyone, I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you want to see more like this, I have other videos on screen now you can check out with Samus and Luigi. You can also check out one of my other Kingdom Hearts videos here as well. Be sure to check them out, and I'll see you soon.